My guest in Nimataion today is Sarah Chains, and together we are spinning a yarn. Sarah, you're you're an author, and you host retreats and workshops about ancient healing techniques, holistic healing. You're a lucid dreamer, and you wrote a book about lucid dreaming and the ancient art of it. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Bernard.
So, what has been your favorite childhood story?
I suppose in terms of my favorite childhood story, it's more like the one that I repeat most often in terms of a ridiculous and insane adventure that I once had. When
Mhm.
I was 11, I was part of a little gang of girls. There were three of us. I was 11, the other two were 12, and we were massive fantasists. We thought we caused the hurricane in England in the 1980s. We had like a witch ceremony on a little hill near my house, and we called the winds. And then the next day there was this massive hurricane, and we were convinced it was us. My friend Felicity Fernandez was a devil worshipper, and Sonia's family were Romany gypsies, and I think her family were the first to live in a house properly.
Hmm.
Anyway, we did various ridiculous things together. We were in a band, sort of like a joke band, because none of us could play any instruments. We just sang songs and acted like we're in a band. And one time we thought it would be a really good idea to run away from home and stow away on a boat and go to America. And we had plans that the one of the ways we could fund this was by being child prostitutes, which was the extra ridiculous dimension of this plan, because we were complete fantasists, really naive, really immature, had no idea what that would entail, but we had this kind of like romantic fantasy of this anyway. So we got some sort of prostitute looking clothes, and I left my mum and dad a note and saying, don't come after me. I'm stowing away in a boat to America. I'm going to be an actress. You don't need to call the police. It's fine. And I remember having this massive bag of sort of slutty clothes and leaving the house. And then, one of the things that we'd been planning as well is because we're in our band and we had a tune, we had like a theme tune for running away called We're Running Away to London, imaginatively enough. So we were singing that. Everyone in our class knew that we were running away. We got on the train. We were bunking off school. We got on the train, and we kind of decided there and then, actually, that being child prostitutes probably wasn't a very good idea. And so that plan kind of sort of went immediately, away from us. And then one of the other sort of side plots of this running away thing was that we were going to go and see Billy Graham, the preacher, do a It was very odd. It was a very odd, like, moment. So anyway, we're on the train. We got up to London, and then we were extremely immature as well. So we were playing games like we were pretending that we were up all night, and so we'd say, right, now it's time to go to sleep. Now it's time to wake up. I remember we broke into a car and stole a packet of cigarettes and smoked them in a building site. I think we set fire to a shoebox with some wood shavings in it. Then I remember trying to go and see Billy Graham, and we couldn't get into the Billy Graham concert or whatever it was. And then I remember starting to get dark, and us realizing the like seriousness of what we'd done, because we'd been away from school all the time and our parents were obviously very worried. And in the course of planning for running away, we'd recorded these kind of crazy cassette tapes to each other where we were acting out what was going to happen to us when we stowed away on a boat. And as it was starting to get dark, we were walking around, I think we were in Earl's Court or somewhere. And my friend Sonia decided that she should probably call someone to see what was happening back where we had come from. So she called her friend, and her friend's mum grabbed the phone off of her and said, "You have to come home right now because your mum is distraught." And then Sonia started crying. Then it all got a bit emotional. Then a police car went past us, picked us up, took us to the police station. Then at that point, when we realized we were going home, we like Sonia started to get quite leery and mouthy and started to sort of shout at the policeman. So to scare her, they put her in a cell all on her own. And then they said, "What were you going to do if anyone attacked you?" And we showed them these like tiny little weapons that we had that were from our brownie belts, because we were all in the brownies. And then Felicity's uncle came to pick us up because he was actually working in a hotel at London at the time, and we drove all the way home in a cab. And my mum and dad never trusted me ever again. That's my favorite childhood story.
I mean, that sounds like directly out of some crazy childhood book, but you lived it.
Well, I was a fantasist, the same group of girls. We believed that there were fairies in the field next to my house and would go and try and find fairies. We were weirdly immature, and life was like we were just in a film when I was little. So,
Mm.
yeah, we did some ridiculous things together. But that was the most ridiculous. And I'm now 47, and my mum and dad still don't trust me because of that.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So, was there a specific story or a TV show or something like that that inspired your actions? How did you come up with
No,
this?
everyone sort of thought it must be Taxi Driver, but I don't remember ever watching Taxi Driver. It was probably, yeah, it was just a sort of harebrained scheme that we had. I think it probably was very inspired by films and pop culture, and yeah, we just thought it would be like sort of dramatic and exciting, and uh, I don't think we were all a lot more sensible than that, really. We were just acting out a kind of fantasy. It was like play acting. I don't think we would have really done anything that would have got us in serious trouble. Although, we left these really embarrassing cassette tapes that the police, because we were acting out like, being child prostitutes, and we were playing different characters and doing voices for like old men and all sorts of insane stuff. And our parents all heard these tapes, so that was like probably the most humiliating thing I ever experienced as a child. And then, as I say, my brothers can get away with anything now, but even to this day, my mum and dad are like, you're mad, we can't trust you.
Um, Why do you think you had these fantasies? Normally, you have this at a much younger age. Has that something to do with your ability to lucid dream or to, be in other worlds where metaphors are real? Is
Yeah, I think there was something about that whole endeavor where I didn't really believe in reality very much.
Mm,
And the whole of life seemed like a big dream. And my two friends, we were the kids in school that were fantasists and really immature and believed in fairies and lived in our imaginations a lot. And so that whole endeavor was a sort of extension of that. I was thinking about it the other day, actually, that someone said to me once when I was a teenager, when you thinking of doing something, think first about what the consequences might be. And it was like the first time anyone had ever said to me, and I was like, wow, well, that's a good idea. So yeah, thinking about the consequences of my actions, I learned
mm,
that.
mm, mm. But you kept your imagination and your ability to travel between worlds, I suppose. And now it's a blessing that you bestow on others, your clients.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that there is, I lead retreats in Greece, and the places that we go to are often really strongly associated with the ancient Greek myths. And so there's something for me that's really exciting about going around museums or archaeological sites and looking at them through a sort of mythological lens rather than a dates and sort of dry historical lens. Because, for example, near where I live in Epidavros, there is a spring called Kanathos, which is associated with the goddess Hera.
Mm,
And this was where she went once a year to restore her virginity, to restore her purity. And it's supposed to be like these magical waters that have this ability to purify her. So, thinking about that as a mythological site and these waters having magical powers, I find really interesting. And Greece is just the whole landscape is just like woven in all these stories and myths, and especially around the Peloponnese and uh, Argos and Arcadia, all these kinds of areas, they just have such a sort of rich mythological heritage that you feel like you're living with gods and monsters.
So, um, not really much has changed in a way since your child.
Yeah, say that.
But now you deal with the consequences beforehand, and you have found a way to channel your fantasies into something very worthwhile and healing.
Well, I think that was one of the reasons why I was so into lucid dreaming as a child, is because I grew up in a really boring part of South London. And that was also probably part of the reason why I went on this stupid adventure to London and wanted to stay away in a boat to America, because my upbringing, my home and my sort of ordinary life was boring in Croydon. It was like a boring place. And I had all these fantasies about adventure and excitement. And so that was a big part of it. And acting other roles. I wanted to be an actress when I was a kid. So, becoming other characters. And part of the reason why I got into lucid dreaming, why I was good at it, was because it was a really amazing escapism activity. Like, just would escape and go to these fantasy worlds all the time. But there was definitely an issue with me living in that fantasy a lot. Like, it took me a lot. I mean, I'm probably not totally grown up even now, but I just was really invested in the imaginal.
Yeah, yeah. I can very much relate to that. That's my sort of like you're telling my own story.
You didn't run away from home to be a child prostitute, did you, Bella?
No, not that, but growing up in a very boring surrounding in the countryside and escaping into stories and finding a way to work with the imaginal. I think that's a precious gift. And Sarah, you have given us a glimpse into this gift today. Thank you so much. I think the world needs more dreamers and more fantasists and
Yeah,
people who know to deal with these worlds. So thank you so much for being on the show.
my pleasure.
I'm looking forward to talking again with you and yeah, have a great time.
Thank you.
The world is magical.